All right. The most common reason why I am seeing someone argue that players can't come back is they say it's not safe. Okay? People say it's not safe. And not safe basically breaks down into two different categories. It's not safe for the players, and it's not safe to play football. Okay? So let me unpack this a little bit. Dr. Chow came on this morning on the radio show and laid out the angles of football, all right? So let's focus on the players themselves. And this is key because I never hear anybody argue this. If you are concerned about the health of players, aren't they safer on campus than they would be off campus? And let me explain by what I mean. If you're like, oh my God, these guys are going to die, why are they more likely to die on campus where they're getting tested weekly and where they are surrounded by medical professionals than they are off campus at home in a condo, an apartment, or a home with their parents? There is no argument that I can see of why the danger is greater for college athletes on campus. But that's the number one argument. Oh, it's not safe. Well, life is not safe. Explain to me why, when you actually look at the data, the danger would not be greater for athletes off campus than it is on campus. And in fact, Cornell did a study that is interesting about this. Cornell said that they found, this ties into kids needing to be back in college. Kids said on a college campus, Cornell said that if kids aren't in class, if they are learning remotely, everybody is going to show up in the college town anyway, live in their apartments, live in their off-campus housing because they don't want to be stuck at home with mom and dad. So many of these college towns are going to end up with a lot of college kids anyway. And if you're not testing them as a part of the college experience, then they are likely to get higher rates of infection off the campus than they would be if classes were open. This is an interesting study from Cornell, and I think there's a lot of truth to it. I don't know how many of you are college kids that watch or listen to this, but if I were a college kid, the last thing I would want to do for an entire year is sit in my house and watch school on the computer with no friends around in my parents' house living in my bedroom. I went to school in Washington, D.C. I lived off campus. I would rather go back up to Washington, D.C. and live in my off-campus apartment and be close to all my friends in college than I would stay back home by myself. So I think there's a lot of truth to that. You need to think about it. Another argument is that older people are not safe around younger people. Now they've moved on because they've looked at the data and they know it's hard to argue that young people are in danger from the coronavirus. So they're like, yeah, but older people are in danger. Well, if you're an older person with a significant health risk, you shouldn't be on a college campus this year. Basically, if you're over the age of 65 and not healthy, okay, health matters a big deal because Nick Saban is 68, but Nick Saban probably tests like a 55-year-old would, right? Nick Saban's working 80 hours a week. I'm sure that Nick Saban is likely to be much healthier than your average 50-year-old, even though he's almost 20 years older. So I don't understand why the argument is that you can allow younger people who have no risk, but you can't just tell the older people to quarantine. This is my bigger argument in the country at large. I've been saying this for months. To me, the best way to get over the coronavirus is not to wait for a vaccine that may or may not ever materialize and work well. It's to get the young people infected with the virus while the older people stay away and quarantine themselves. That's what should be happening on a college campus. It's going to spread widely on a college campus when these kids get there, okay? So that is another argument. I don't even know any other data point. Can one of you tell me in Facebook or in Twitter what the arguments are for additionally why college football shouldn't be happening? I hear, oh, it's too dangerous, but the danger is the same no matter where the kids are. I want a legitimate argument for why college football can't happen based on college campuses being more dangerous. The teachers, janitors, I just addressed that. The teachers, janitors, and other staff are not in danger unless they're old and have major health issues. And if they do, then they don't need to be there. Okay, professional versus amateur. This doesn't make sense either. The professionals are getting paid, yes, but the amateurs, many of them, are hoping to one day get paid. And we're not insisting that players have to play, okay? If you believe that you are under risk and don't want to do it, it's already been announced that you can keep your scholarship and not have to play a sport at all if you or your parents are concerned about your health. So that doesn't make any sense at all to me when you actually look at the data. There have been, I believe it's 150 kids under the age of 24 who have died, 30 under the age of 15 in the entire country. And so you are far more likely on a college campus to die from alcohol poisoning. I believe there are 1,845 alcohol-related deaths every year on a college campus. You are nearly 10 times as likely to die from alcohol poisoning as you are to die from the coronavirus. So again, amateurs, yes, but they get to choose whether they play or not. And I think 99% of college kids who are playing college football would say, yes, I want to play. Okay? So that is the argument. And again, people keep saying, well, if a death happened, the deaths could happen if kids aren't on campus. I can spin that and argue that a death is more likely for a college kid off campus where they don't have health care and they don't have testing than it is to happen on a campus. When you argue, oh, someone might die off campus, and the odds of death off campus to me seem actually more substantial because most of us don't get tested weekly and most of us don't have access to medical professionals every day and most of us aren't getting our temperature taken every day. So if you actually look at all the facts here, the safest thing that could happen is for college football players and college athletes in general to be on campus in protocols getting tested on a regular basis. This just doesn't make any sense, okay? So I don't buy into these arguments at all. Now, I want to give, so I haven't seen any other argument than the ones I addressed. And if you really break them down, all of those arguments lack substance. They lack legitimacy, they lack factual basis, and they don't withstand any sort of rigorous examination, all right? So